We often move through life as if it were a familiar city. We walk the same streets, see the same buildings, follow the same paths, all without ever asking who designed the map. Most of us never stop to question the foundations beneath our feet, the invisible architecture that gives shape to our choices, beliefs, and even our very sense of self. Yet somewhere, buried beneath daily obligations and routines, is the quiet knowledge that the way we see the world is not the world itself. It is a lens, a fragile shifting lens, and without realizing it, we mistake the lens for reality. Philosophy begins in the moment you take that first step back from the crowd and ask, what is this lens I'm looking through, and who, if anyone, put it there? That's when life stops being just a series of events and starts becoming a question in itself. Not a puzzle to be solved in haste, but a living, breathing mystery that deepens the more you explore it. Consider the strange fact that the thoughts in your head, the ones that seem so undeniably yours, are built from words you didn't invent, shaped by a language you inherited, loaded with meanings you never personally approved. When you think about freedom, truth, or love, you are moving through definitions constructed long before you arrived here. Even your sense of I, that intimate point from which you experience the world, is tangled in stories and expectations you didn't choose. Yet this realization isn't meant to shrink you, it's meant to open a door. If the mind is a room filled with inherited furniture, then you have the power to rearrange it, or to carry some pieces out into the sunlight and see them clearly for the first time. The philosopher isn't the one who simply has all the answers. In fact, the philosopher is the one who sees that the answers themselves are never final, never beyond question. It's not about constructing a fortress of certainty. It's about learning to walk comfortably in open space, where the horizon always moves with you. Think about existence itself. You woke up this morning in a body you didn't design, on a planet you didn't create, under a sun you can't control, with no signed contract explaining why any of this is here at all. Everything, every laugh you've shared, every street you've walked, every word you've spoken, rests on the utterly unprovable fact that reality is happening. And for some reason, you're in the middle of it. When you pause and really see that, life shifts. The small worries that once dominated your mind begin to look like pebbles compared to the vast landscape around them. You notice that the fear of not knowing, the fear that drives so much of our restlessness, is actually a kind of teacher. It keeps you moving, searching, wondering. Without that uncertainty, there would be no curiosity at all. Still, the path of deep thought can be unsettling. The more you question, the less you feel anchored to familiar truths. Friends may look at you strangely when you ask questions they'd rather avoid. Comforting beliefs may loosen their grip, leaving you exposed to a kind of existential wind. But here's the paradox. That exposure is freedom. To stand without borrowed answers is to stand on your own feet for the first time. And what of consciousness, that invisible flame that lights up your every experience? You've never seen it directly. You can't place it under a microscope or store it in a jar. You can't hand it to someone else to examine. Yet it is the most intimate reality you know. It is the stage on which every thought, feeling, and sensation appears, plays its role, and fades away. Without it, the universe, as far as you are concerned, disappears entirely. Some traditions say consciousness is just the brain doing its job. Others insist it's the fundamental fabric of the cosmos, the sea in which all phenomena swim. Both views are attempts to wrap language around something that refuses to sit still long enough to be measured. But maybe the point isn't to pin it down. Maybe the point is to recognize that you are not merely watching consciousness. You are it. The observer and the observed are part of the same dance. Once you sense this, even ordinary moments begin to glow differently. The sound of rain tapping against a window becomes not just background noise, but a kind of cosmic event, millions of drops colliding with glass in perfect, unrepeatable patterns, each sound existing for a fraction of a second and then vanishing forever. A simple breath feels like an exchange with the entire living world. Oxygen drawn in from unseen forests, carbon dioxide released into the invisible currents of the air. You start to realize that ordinary is just a word we use when we've stopped paying attention. Philosophy, at its core, is an act of returning to the freshness of first sight, before labels and categories pinned everything in place. It's about peeling back the habitual ways of seeing until the rawness of existence shines through. This is why so many philosophical traditions, though vastly different in culture and method, arrive at the same strange advice: pay attention. Not in the shallow sense of noticing what time it is or where your phone is, but in the radical sense of being present to your own life as it unfolds. But presence is not passive. It doesn't mean sitting on the sidelines while life passes you by. It means engaging with reality in a way that refuses to turn away from its complexity. It means holding questions in your hands without rushing to trade them for easy answers. It means seeing the humanity in others not as a moral duty alone, but as a recognition of the same mysterious spark that burns in you. And maybe that's where philosophy becomes more than an intellectual pursuit. When you start to live from that awareness, your actions shift. You speak differently. You listen more deeply. You become slower to judge, because you've seen how much of a person's life is invisible to you. The world stops being a chessboard of winners and losers, and starts being a shared journey, where everyone is, in some way, trying to make sense of their own lens. So where does that leave us? Back where we started, perhaps, but with different eyes. The streets you walk may be the same, the buildings unchanged, but the map in your mind has grown larger, stranger, more open. You carry your questions with you now, not as burdens, but as companions. And if the answers you find along the way are temporary, that's fine, because life itself is temporary. The goal was never to build something permanent in the sand, but to fully inhabit the fleeting moments we have. In the end, philosophy isn't about escaping the mystery. It's about learning to live inside it, to breathe it in, to walk through it with curiosity and courage, and to see, even in the smallest details, the vastness of what it means to exist.